Hello there, good evening. The doctor's strike has officially entered its 30th day. This as many patients across the country remain in agonizing pain and the government insisting that it cannot cater to some of their demands. We have that story in details, but also we have several other stories coming up your way. Let's have a look at the highlights. Tonight,
we want to announce that from Monday, all the anesthetists, all the critical care clinic officers and other specialists will cease working.
Doctors strike on its 30th day with both sides remaining adamant on their demands. This as sick Kenyans continue bearing the brunt.
Kama sasa mimi nimelazwa hapa na huyu bwana yangu. Hakuna mtu mwingine anakuja hapa kutuangalia.
Baringo residents who fled insecurity and are camping in Moinonin now face more woes as the ongoing heavy rains now pose the fear of contracting diseases.
Tumeishi hapa, saa hii ugonjwa imeendelea hapa. Maneno ya malaria pamoja na homa.
The primary outcome expected of this major conference is the commitment to reducing the public wage bill to 35% of revenue.
And the Salaries and Remunerations Commission proposes a raft of measures meant to reduce the public wage bill to 35% of the country's total revenue, but at what cost?
I'm just looking at some of the sectors, like the road sector. Our road sector is barely moving at all.
Of course, tonight on Disruptive Friday, I have with me Engineer Leo Boruet, who's the Director of Multimedia Services at the Communication Authority of Kenya. Or is it just Communication Authority?
Communication Authority of Kenya. Thank you.
All right. So today you're going to be part of the content that the new programming code is seeking to regulate. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, we are grateful to have this opportunity to be able to interact with Kenyans and the audience on the revised programming code. Yeah, so it's an opportunity that we really appreciate. Thank you.
Great. So we'll have this conversation, of course, in the next 30 minutes or so. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter is Catherine Simaloe. Disruptive Friday begins now. As the doctor's strike enters its 30th day, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers now says that they will rope in clinical anesthetists in the ongoing clinician strike that has entered its 12th day. The move is aimed at paralyzing critical care in various health facilities from Monday next week. Elizabeth Atieno kickstarts this bulletin for us tonight.
Makueni County Referral Hospital is deserted. The corridors of this facility paint a clear picture of the ailing health sector exacerbated by the ongoing doctor's strike. At the wards, there is no doctor in sight. Patients have been left at the mercy of nurses and their family members. Patients have been thrown into a state of despair as they fail to access health services. Some have watched their fellow patients lose their lives. Those admitted at the facility say they have been neglected with no water to drink.
Maji saa ingine maji unakuta maji ya kukunywa ni shida, inabidi unaenda kununua. Na kama sasa mimi nimelazwa hapa na huyu bwana yangu. Hakuna mtu mwingine anakuja hapa kutuangalia. So inakuwa hata shida ya pesa inakuwa ni changamoto. Haya, kitu ile ingine nasikia hata wenzangu wenye tulikuwa na wao mahali hapa wakiteta sana juu ya bill.
And as the health crisis deepens, doctors from Western Region on Friday held demonstrations at the Kakamega County Referral Hospital where they urged the county government to meet their demands, further maintaining that they will not go back to work despite Governor Fernandez Barasa threatening to sack them.
Nilikuja hapa asubuhi kuleta mtoto kwa hospitali, alikuwa ameumia mkono. Wakati nimefika hapo kwa sababu gavana alikuwa ametangaza kwamba leo hii hata narudi kazi. Nimekuja nikapata kwamba hawajarudi kazi bado wako mgomo na mgomo inaendelea.
Na haina faida kuona Wakenya wenzetu wakiumia, lakini mpaka serikali imalize mgomo wao.
To add insult to injury, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has threatened to paralyze critical care in various facilities from next week as they urge clinical anesthetists to join the strike.
From Monday, all the anesthetists, all the critical care clinical officers and other specialists will cease working, and we are going now to call out our members who will left in the facility to offer critical services.
The Clinicians Union has faulted the court orders suspending the strike in Tharaka Nithi County.
So up to now, because we were served late, we have not honored that order.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
The government continues to stick to its guns that it cannot fulfill the demands by the doctors on strike for a month now. This, as Public Service CS Moses Koria proposes that all CBA negotiations be centralized under his ministry. And as Sheila Chelangat reports on this stalemate, religious leaders continue to weigh in, calling for a calm and urgent approach in resolving the matter.
For a month now, the health sector in the country has been at a standstill, and no end in sight for the strike that continues to deepen the health crisis further. At the heart of the strike is the 2017 CBA agreement that continues to be termed as unsustainable.
The reality is most of the governments, the employers could not afford what was signed. And therefore, it is important that we don't get to the same position where you're pushed to sign something that you simply cannot afford.
You know, we really can't have rules for one profession. For people who went through high school together, they came from the same grade, they just went to different directions. And then we treat them differently.
Hence, this proposal by the CS Public Service to have all CBA negotiations centralized, insisting that the government should not accept unreasonable return-to-work formulas.
I am really going to crack the whip. Going forward, only my ministry is going to be responsible for negotiating CBAs. And so therefore, once I get the CBA, I go to SRC, this one, health, this one, agriculture, this one, teachers, this one, university. Then you can have some semblance of some order in this space.
And as the standoff continues, clergy leaders have called on the president to intervene.
He has the sole responsibility to step in authority and bring an end to this crisis.
Meanwhile, private hospital doctors have also threatened to join the strike on Tuesday if doctors' demands are not met. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
And of course, it is everybody's hope that that is going to be resolved. Something different now as the country still reels from the latest spate of road accidents, which have claimed the lives of over 1,000 people in just 3 months. Public service vehicles remain on the spot for flouting simple regulations like ensuring that they have working speed governors. Our reporter Moige William trailed some PSVs, and what he found is disheartening.
Let us do a spot check on public service vehicles if they are fitted with working speed governors. We already have a vehicle that is fitted with a functional speed governor. If this vehicle hits the 80 kilometers per hour mark, it will automatically either shut down the engine or the driver of this vehicle will not be able to accelerate beyond the 80 kilometers per hour. Let's take a cruise. We have joined Thika Road. This is one of the main highways within the country. This highway leads to counties such as Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Murang'a, and all the way up to Meru and Isiolo. So with my colleague here, Dennis, we are going to accelerate up to the speed of 80 kilometers per hour.
A few moments after speeding up to the speed of 80 kilometers per hour, a warning sound emanating from the speed governor system beeped in a flash of a second. A canter, which is under the category of a commercial vehicle according to the Traffic Act, overtook us, shocking, and sped off. Minutes later, matatu plying the Nairobi-Embu route was next to overtake us, despite maintaining our 80 km/h speed, with my colleague being limited to speed up, and off went the public service vehicle.
We have traveled for approximately 30 kilometers with a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Despite that, some commercial vehicles, including public service vehicles, have overtaken us. This begs the question, are the speed governors fitted in such vehicles really functional?
On our way back to Nairobi, things actually got even more interesting. Parling, commercial vehicles were being driven past the gazetted maximum speed. Our cameras managed to get all the action. At some point at the glare of the camera, we witnessed a motorbike rider and his pillion passengers dancing with death. The situation along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway is not different. With a speed of more than 90 km/h, we could not manage to keep up speed with the number of public service vehicles. The government has ordered all commercial vehicle motorists to feed vehicles with standard maximum speed limit immediately that are functional and have their data updated to NTSA. Data from NTSA indicate more than 1,200 people have lost their lives on road in the past 3 months. Muge William, TV47.
Well, thank you, Moige William, for that. Now, the situation faced by hundreds of Baringo residents who fled banditry and are camping at the Moinoin camp is deteriorating and fast. While their exodus was meant to save their lives from bandits' bullets, they find themselves in a state of dire straits as they now face the triple threat of insecurity, floods, and little to no access to healthcare. Chichi Josephine with that.
For nearly a year, they have sought shelter in these shanties they now call home. Inasmuch as their exodus was meant to save their lives from bandits' bullets, they find themselves in a state of dire straits as they now face the triple threat of insecurity, floods, and little to no access to healthcare.
Tumeishi hapa, sai ugonjwa imeendelea hapa. Maneno ya malaria pamoja na homa.
Shida hapa ni mingi, hata tukuambia ABCD, hatujui tunaanzia wapi na tunamalizia wapi.
Women continue to suffer the adverse effects of insecurity, with 3 women delivering in the IDP camp having no food and deplorable shelters, with their children yet to be immunized since they gave birth.
Umeweza kupeleka mtoto clinic?
Hapana, sina pesa. Women cooking in the scorching sun as children wait by the fireside for the available meal of the day.
President ako wapi? Anaangalia refugees wenye wako hapa ama angali?
With us was Anglican Bishop Jackson Ole Sapit, who said the situation is worsening and called for government to step up the fight against banditry in the North Rift and work on compensation to those displaced.
It is an unfortunate situation in the 21st century that we still have parts of Kenya that people are internally displaced. And we have been asking our national government and county government to step in and ensure that people are disarmed. The government also has investigative capacity to know where the ammunition is coming from.
Habari niko nayo ni kwamba mambo ya usalama hapa imeshughulikiwa karibu 70-80, lakini kuna sehemu ambayo bado hatujakamilisha.
Ole Sapit reiterated the need of opening up the region through faith-based diplomacy and infrastructure to enlighten the people who had been displaced since decades of violence.
We ask the government to make sure that surveillance is enhanced, technology is used to be able to track whatever is happening in this region.
Tumeweka mpango kamili. Pale nyuma tulikuwa na matatizo, askari wetu hawakukuwa na equipment ya kutosha ama vifaa ya kutosha. Tumeweka mpango ya karibu bilioni 25 kununua equipment mpya ya polisi wetu na walinda usalama. Sasa niko na equipment ya kutosha. Hawa wakora chuma chao kimotoni. Mimi nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba hawa watu wa kuangaisha wananchi tutawashughulikia kikamilifu.
According to the displaced people camping here, they are yet to feel government's presence of restoring normalcy.
Kila wakati tunahama na haya maneno tumeongea paka imekuwa hata chafu kwetu, sababu tumeongea Kabisa imekuwa hata aibu.
The displaced families have increased from 2,700 to 3,200, with 4 locations deserted and 17 people shot dead since the beginning of the year, with others camping at different locations in Baringo South. Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
Now, tonight, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, has called for a reduction of the country's wage bill totaling 1 trillion shillings out of the current revenue of 2.2 trillion shillings. SRC chairperson Lynn Mengich, while admitting Kenya is living rather beyond its means amid debt repayment demands, said the commission is projecting a capping of public servant salaries at 35% from the current 47.3% by 2028, which will result in a reduction of close to 80 billion shillings per year. Apollo Kamau reports.
The never-ending search on how to tame the country's wage bill for close to 1 million public servants will be the subject of debate in the 3-day forthcoming wage bill conference, expected to kick off on Monday at the Bomas of Kenya. Out of a 2.2 trillion revenue, the country's exchequer spends 1 trillion to pay public sector employees, translating to 43.7%. instead of 35%, which the Salaries and Remuneration Commission SRC is now proposing.
The primary outcome expected of this major conference is the commitment to reducing the public wage bill to 35% of revenue, in line with the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and we target to achieve that by 2028.
The country's public sector employees, now totaling 937,900, and which could be higher given recent hirings in the public service, have left the country's economy struggling under debt duress, which amounts to 60% of national revenues, barely coping to stay afloat.
Let me just put into context what reduction from 43% to 35% means. As the chair has said, it means 80 billion shillings. What that means is that I'm just looking at some of the sectors, like the road sector. Our road sector is barely moving at all.
President William Ruto, during a meeting with the head of parastatals 2 weeks ago at State House, Nairobi, warned he has no option but to close down loss-making parastatals, a move that means loss of jobs in the public sector.
Those institutions that are making losses, they have no plan, they have no intention of doing anything. Please, we will shut them down. We will get the employees to go and work somewhere else. And we just stop making the losses. At least we will stop making the losses.
Despite the government's proclamations on taming the wage bill, recent reports by the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, blame the National Treasury for inflating public servants' pay, including hers, by 1.5 billion shillings. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Now, the heavy rains and flooding have caused severe destruction in the country. More than 13 people have so far died, while thousands have been rendered homeless by the flooding. However, Kenya's Meteorological Department had warned that the country was set to experience very high rainfall and asked people to prepare for floods by naming out the areas that would experience the flooding.
Hundreds of families in the country have been rendered homeless, while 13 people have died due to the heavy rains and flash floods. The situation remains dire at Karachuonyo, Homa Bay County, where 150 homes have been affected, leading residents to camp at Simbi Dispensary.
Tuliharibiwa nyumba yetu na mvua. Tumekuja hapa dispensary kukaa, tumekaa hapa. Tumeharibiwa vitu nyingi sana. Kila kitu, hatuna chochote. Sisi tumekaa, hatuna hizi nguo tunayo hapa nyumbani. Hapa tumekaa nayo. Alafu tumekuja kuishi hapa. Kuna kitu nyumbani, kila kitu imeenda, samba imeharibika, kila kitu imeharibika. Naomba serikali umesaidia, mimi sina hata nyumba, barangeti yangu imeenda, sina hata disi ya kukula.
However, Budalangi in Busia County is grappling with over 600 households being displaced due to the ongoing floods.
Kwa sababu ya mafuriko, watu wamepoteza kazi, mapato na hata maisha.
Imefika wakati
Hata sasa hivi venye naongea nimetuma wenzangu ambao ni bibi wa kwangu, wameenda sehemu ambao ni marelative ambao naweza kaenda wakafanya wakikaa kule.
Despite the challenges faced, flood victims in Busia and Homa Bay County are appealing to the government for assistance and a permanent solution to prevent the future flooding in their regions.
We know that we long for a permanent solution, but currently we want a quick solution actually to the diseases that might affect the camp. We are asking for medicinal equipments, we are asking for food also that can actually assist our people now.
Anastasia Mkabi, TV47.
Well, thank you, Mukabi, for that. Now back to the city. A traffic police officer who was allegedly caught on camera taking what looks like a bribe from matatus has since been suspended. The traffic officer based near Buruburu police station was recorded by concerned citizens. National Police Service has issued a statement saying that they are glad the matter came to their attention because they aim at abiding by the law and fighting the corruption menace.
This video doing rounds on social media has triggered reactions by a number of Kenyans online. This traffic police officer can be seen receiving what looks like bribes from matatus near the Buruburu police station area. National Police Service has issued a statement saying they identified the officer, who has since been relieved of his duties as they begin investigations which could lead to his dismissal from the service. They have further congratulated the public and the press on joining the war against corruption and bringing this case to their attention. They have also added that NPS is committed to its mandate of upholding the rule of law and fighting corruption and maintaining professionalism.
What is this man doing?
This comes just weeks after the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission released a report which put the Interior Ministry, which houses the National Police Service, as among the most corrupt public institutions. Vera Alberta, TV47.
Now, Dr. Mohammed Abdi, also known as Abu Fida, could face a potential sentence of up to 90 years in prison after being found guilty of various terrorism-related charges. He was convicted of being part of a terrorist group, connecting youth with ISIS fighters in Libya, recruiting members, collecting or transmitting information for terrorist acts, and possessing articles related to terrorism. However, his wife, Nuseiba Mohammed Haj, a medical student, was acquitted due to lack of evidence. The court will sentence him on April 22nd.
Has ever been recruited to, as being that on or before the 30th of August 2016, at the Counter-Terrorism Police Unit Headquarters in Nairobi County within the and the 27th of August 2016 at a known place within the Republic of Kenya. Jointly with others not before court, the accused persons are alleged to have organized meetings, knowing that the agenda of the meetings were for the activities of a terrorist group, namely Islamic State of Iraq, among others, and they did so by making referrals regarding operations, financing, and recruitment, tasking to translate pro-ISIS material for the purposes of terrorist activities. Count number 3, the 4 accused persons will face the charge of soliciting for the commission of a terrorist act, contrary to Section 9(1), being that on diverse dates between the 1st of January 2015 and the 30th of August 2016 at an unknown place within the Republic of Kenya, jointly with others not before court, the accused persons knowingly solicited support for the commission of a terrorist act by offering logistical assistance to Islamic State of Iraq. And this was done on various social media platforms.
Tonight, chilling details emerged suggesting suspects captured in a viral video robbing a businessman within Nairobi's Eastleigh area have been murdered. Police say they collected 4 bodies of 4 people suspected to have been involved in the robbery with violence incident that led to a public uproar. In the incident, the businessman was left nursing gunshot injuries before he was robbed of over 3.9 million shillings. Ruga Eval reports.
It was one of the seemingly daring robbery with violence incidents that happened on 30th March within Nairobi's Eastleigh area and captured by surveillance cameras. In the incident, a man was left nursing gunshot injuries and a sum of 3.9 million robbed from him by an armed criminal gang. 4 days later, bodies of suspects in the shooting were discovered in different parts of Kajiado and Kiambu counties. The suspects had been murdered. On 4th April the year 2024, the body of Frederick Obote was discovered in a thicket within Lari near the Viewpoint, Kiambu County. It was taken to the city mortuary. An autopsy exercise on the body by pathologist Simon Omoko has revealed Obote died due to strangulation. During that period, another body of Walter Kibe Mwangi was collected from a river in Ongatarongai, Kajiado, and booked at the city morgue. An autopsy conducted on his body also reveals his cause of death was strangulation. Police say a female body of Esther Wanjiko linked to the gang was also discovered within Juja as investigation into the robbery continued. The body was booked at the city mortuary on 8th April the year 2024 as a murder incident. It is believed the woman was a gang leader who acted as a surveillance spy before the robbery happened in Eastleigh. Meanwhile, there's another body at Naivasha mortuary awaiting an autopsy exercise. Police believe the four were responsible for this robbery with violence in Eastleigh. However, it is not yet clear on who trailed and killed them, a question that perhaps we might not get an answer. So, if these suspects are responsible for this violent robbery incident, where is the sum of 3.9 million Kenyan shillings that was stolen by the gang during the robbery? Ruga Iwal, TV47.
Sports News brought to you by Safaricom Chapa Dimba.
Let's get sporty. The Nyanza region reigning champions and the season 1 national champions Plateau Queens Elias Nyakach girls sailed through the national finals after silencing Brenda girls from Bungoma County 5-1 in the girls semi-finals held today at Mamboleo Stadium in Kisumu County. In another girls semi-finals, like KPA's Barcelona ladies, SC had to come back from a goal down to defeat Rift Valley defending champions Wieta girls 2-1 in a hard-fought semi-final. Meanwhile, the boys' semi-final set for tomorrow Saturday will see Ebwali boys from Western Region lock horns with Rift Valley's Pask Langa, while home team Obunga FC representing Nyanza Region will battle it out with Mombasa's Bandari Youth.
Tumefika semis na pia tumejipanga for final matches na lazima kikombe irudi Nyanza juu tumekuwa mabingwa kutoka pale zamani. Sasa sisi tunajituma, teamwork muhimu. Alafu pia last time I was in regionals I was the top scorer, but football udunda, but maybe I can be the best player.
Leo ilikuwa ngumu, but teamwork, tumeka teamwork tukapata hizo mabao. Nafurahi kwa game ya leo. Nashukuru Mungu. Mimi nafurahi naenda finals Sunday. Kwa wachezaji wangu, tutie tu bidii. Kama ulipigwa, rudi tupige zoezi. Zoezi muhimu. Na tukue tu na discipline.
Jana, game ya jana wasichana walikuwa hawakuwa na injuries mob na walikuwa psyched, ndio tukafunga Siomunyu 4-2. Lakini kwa leo kidogo jana usiku niliwa gauge tukiongea nao kidogo na treat injuries, tulirealize kwamba kuna injuries zenye ilikuwa itawasumbua kidogo. So tumejaribu tu kuzuia na at least ndio naona imewashikilia mpaka hapo kidogo wakapigwa hayo mabao.
We played our semi-finals today. It was a tough game when we got into the field. We never expected that we would win because the players' preparedness may have not been to the level that we had expected, and even the team that we had known we were to play, possibly the fixture changed in the at midnight. So we prepared our players that we need to play any team that we are given into the field. I think their psychological well-being made them to change, and therefore they played well.
Well, all the best to the teams there. Now, today marked the 4th day of the National Secondary School Games, and our sports reporter Duncan Mutua has been keeping an eye on what is happening at this edition, and here is his report. Have a look.
The fourth day of the Term 1 National Secondary School Games has witnessed its fair share of drama, passion, and heartbreak. There will be a new champion in the men's basketball after the exit of defending champions Eastleigh, who failed to stop the high-flying Dr. Agri after falling to a 65-58 defeat. And now, the Coast Region champions will play against Agoro Sare, who stand Dagoretti.
Poa sana juu wameweza kutufunga. 2022 walitufunga hata kama tulibeba. 2023 wakatufunga, lakini this time God amekuwa na sisi. Ametusaidia tukashinda against Naiza. Iko rahisi.
Handball, Moi Girls Kamusinga will face Kwandanze in the finals after the Machakos best side Kwandanze stand Murundimo 22-17 while Kamusinga finest stand Ulanda.
Nataka kusema kwamba hayawi huu manake lisomola lipo na kama alipo linjiani laja lishafika hili kwamba kwa meza sasa hivi washakuwa wa kwanza katika kaunti ya Machakos kuweza kufuzu katika finali ya handball ya wasichana tangu uhuru wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo hii ni historia kubwa sana ambayo tumeiweka. Nashukuru Mungu sana.
Masterclass has been witnessed in men's semi-finals. Boni Boys bowing out after 21-20 defeat against Hospital Hill, and now Hospital Hill will face St. Luke Kamilili.
We are really happy with the competition today. It's the first time we are coming to the national championship and taking the trophy.
Yes.
So we really want to appreciate everybody, all our fans, our players.
Yes.
We've done us proud, and I think we are taking it back home.
Yes.
It has been a very tough one. Yes. All the teams were prepared, but I think we've been doing a lot of work at home to make us become a champion. We were really yearning to be the best this time round.
In rugby, Butula flexed over Makueni heavyweights Kitondo, stunning them with a score of 32-23, and now they will face All Saints Embu, who defeated Lenana from Nairobi 32-10. Tomorrow will mark the end of the 5-day sports extravaganza that have been witnessed here at the Machakos School. Duncan Mutua, TV47 Sports.
Well, thank you, Duncan Mutua, for that. Now, Malkia Strikers and Team Kenya Sprinters have received a boost of 10 million shillings from Kenya Breweries Limited to enhance their preparations for the Paris Olympics slated for July this year. The National Olympic Committee of Kenya and Kenya Breweries Limited, through their flagship brand Tusker, announced the partnership on Friday, which NOC Kenya Secretary General Francis Mutuku says will go a long way in preparing the select athletes for the Games. The sponsorship will allocate 5 million shillings to Malkia Strikers and 5 million shillings support to the entire relay team, which includes the 4x100 meters men, 4x400 meters men, 4x400 meters women, and the mixed relay. Well, time now for a very short break, but don't go away because Disruptive Friday is up next. We are talking about Kenya's new broadcasting blueprint. You don't want to miss that conversation. See you on the other side.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. This is Disruptive Friday. And of course, we start with what is the latest in the world of tech. Now, as different sectors insist on the use of artificial intelligence, the government, through the Data Protection Office and the Data Protection Act, is committed to setting up measures and policies that will enhance data protection, hence hindering data infringement. Different organizations have been called on to observe data regulations that have been set up so that they don't go against the law. Speaking during the annual Information Systems Audit and Control Association Kenya Chapter Conference, which brought together stakeholders from the government, non-governmental organizations, and business people, the stakeholders have appreciated the ongoing awareness on matters artificial intelligence as it has helped companies and organizations in offering different services to Kenyans.
I mean, the government is putting in place a conducive environment for us to ensure that we are moving at the same pace, more or less, with innovation. Because with innovation, you now comes with the risks of such as data data protection and data rights being infringed. So the government has put in place various regulations through the Office of the Data Protection and also the Data Protection Act. And so it's upon individuals, it's upon organizations to ensure that you are operating within the confines of the law. If you violate any of the laws, then there's no room for ignorance.
Each time we meet, we have a discussion around what are the new risks, what are the emerging technologies. We get to apply the same in the areas that we work in. Looking at, like, for instance, the emergent risks, the areas of AI, the machine learning, the data privacy risk. It's one of the critical areas that is very significant, especially in the space that we operate in.
Now, the Communication Authority of Kenya has released the 4th edition of the Programming Code for Broadcasting Services, outlining revised guidelines aimed at promoting responsible use of broadcasting platforms across all media outlets in the country. As per Gazette notice, free-to-air broadcasters are mandated to ensure that a minimum of 40% of their station's programming constitutes local content within 1 year of receiving their license award. Additionally, broadcasters are instructed to safeguard children from exposure to adult content, with the directive that inappropriate material should not be aired between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. To help us understand what is in the code, I'm joined by Engineer Leo Buruet, who's the Director of Multimedia Services at the Communication Authority. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Eric. Once again, thank you for this opportunity. Maybe before I say anything, just wanted to bring the context in terms of how we have, the journey that we have worked. Because the journey began in the year 2016. That's when we had the first programming code.
And for context, this is the 4th one, right?
This is the 4th one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, we've made a lot of progress. For example, in the area of local content. Currently, we require 40% local content. And when we started, broadcasters were about 56% who were complying.
Yep.
But as we speak now, they are over 90%. The other thing I'm impressed is the issue of sign language. I saw you have it here. That time, we had only one station doing sign language.
Okay.
But at the moment, we are over 30, the ones who do news and events of national importance. Just to name but a few areas. Yes, so we reviewed the program. The law requires us to review the program because of the dynamism of the industry. So this process we began in August last year. And then we did public consultation, which we concluded in November. And then we also did stakeholder validation just to make sure that we understood each other with the people who gave views. And then that's what led now to the gazettement, which we did in 8th March. And 30 days. It actually requires 30 days. So from 8th November. So this new programming code is actually in force with effect from 8th April.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really just the background of the journey. And I want to say this journey really, I want to appreciate the contribution of the broadcasters because really they have done a lot to comply. I mean, from 2016 up to now. Of course, the journey is not yet complete. And also, I also want to appreciate my co-regulators. For example, Kenya Film Commission. We worked with them a lot in the area of local content. We visited about 16 counties, just creating training. And then also KISE, Kenya Institute of Special Education, in terms of the sign language, just to name but a few. Yeah.
Okay, you've said this is the 4th one. The journey started back in 2016, and I am sitting here on behalf of Kenyans. We did a small sampling. It's a very small sample, but it's a representative of what a lot of Kenyans think when they hear about the new programming code for broadcast. And I want my director to play some of the vox pops that we managed to collect today. So look.
Na hiyo watershed kulingana vile naelewa ni kuhusu vile vipindi ambavyo viwahusu kwa mfano watoto vinaonyeshwa na muda ambao unaonyeshwa.
Hii watershed kwanza nimeisikia leo. Sijawahi isikia, nimeisikia leo na ndio nataka sasa wanielezee huwa inamaanisha nini.
Watershed
ni kudhibiti vipindi ambavyo vitakavyoonyeshwa katika runinga. Yani kila kipindi unakipatia muda fulani, ukiangalia umri ya wale watu ambao wanaangalia.
Well, as I said, that's a very small sample of Kenyans that we sampled, but it's also a representative of very many Kenyans about what they think, and especially the thing called watershed. What do you think about that? What do you think about their views?
I think I'm actually encouraged, because 3 out of 4, that is 75%, because at least they have an element of control.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. And then another one actually actually relates it, because it's very relevant to children, vulnerable groups.
Okay.
So the watershed period is from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
And during that period, we require broadcasters, whatever they air, should be suitable for children. And we try to avoid things like violence, things to do with explicit sexual display, strong language, and even sometimes religious also programs like this healing. If they are not contextualized, they can actually be traumatizing for the children. The other thing also is we need transition, a gradual transition, because we say up to 10, but now between 10 and 11, we don't expect you to transit to adult only. The other thing about the watershed period is you also work with Kenya Film Classification Board, because they have actually the mandate to classify programs.
Okay.
Yeah, so the programs are usually classified into 4 really, because there's general viewing, which anybody can view. Then there's parental guidance. Parental guidance is 10 years and below. The parent now should determine, use the judgment. And then there is 16. Anybody below 16 should not watch. And then there is 18. Adult only should not be shown during that watershed period. Yeah, so, but in terms of the feedback, there's a lot of appreciation, because it's about children. It's about also making sure that the programs within that period are acceptable for general family viewing.
Well, I've gone through the code, and one thing that stuck out for me, especially due to the nature of the work that we engage in as journalists, I looked at clause 9, that is elections and referendum.
Elections.
And 9.3 says all broadcasts of election propaganda shall be identified through the words paid for by, followed by the name of the candidate and political party for whom the propaganda is being broadcast. Broadcast shall ensure that political messages do not contain attacks on individuals, their families, and it goes on to say even ethnic background, race, religion, etc. The use of the word propaganda here, the word has some negative connotations. Don't you think the use of such in the code, you'll open that clause wide for different interpretations?
Okay. Where we sit, we see propaganda is a general, it can be positive or negative. That's our perspective when we use that word. But as I told you, this thing is growing. Now we are getting feedback from you about the word propaganda. But for us, and also the issue that you identify, I think that disclosure actually kind of negates the negativity of it, because you read it with the sense that it's a propaganda anyway. Whoever is propagating it, there's nothing, you're not convincing anyone else. We know that's your stand. So I think the disclosure is the key thing there.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe that's an area we need to interrogate, whether there could be another word that is more neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, but the message for us is there's disclosure of who has paid for that, really safeguards the consumer, because our aim really is to safeguard the consumer in all these things we are doing.
All right. I'll still remain on that political bit. Last year, during some political rallies and protests that were anti-government, the authority threatened to revoke the licenses of 6 TV stations, this one included. Isn't that denying Kenyans the freedom of expression, which is actually enshrined in our constitution?
Okay, maybe just to put perspective, first, To be accurate, actually, the authority is not threatened to revoke. I think it was more of cautionary, because remember, I always say we are employed by the public.
Okay.
Yes. You are employed to produce content to the satisfaction of the public.
Yes.
Me, I've also been employed to have a checklist, and they can decide if I'm not doing my work properly, they'll replace me. If you're not doing properly, so the first
are doing their work properly.
No, I'm just saying.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Eventually, the consumer sets the standards.
Okay.
That's really what we say. The consumer sets the standards. So first, in terms of perspective, the approach of the authority was just to bring to you the regulations that are in place. So, and we never stopped anyone from covering the demonstration. We actually said exercise caution, but continue doing it. We never said don't do it. And then the other thing also is about the law.
Okay.
When it comes to broadcasting, it's not an absolute right. It has got limitations.
Yes.
When you look at Article 33(5) of the Constitution, it's limited in terms of incitement to violence, propaganda for war, and even the issue of vilification of others. So it's not a right that is unlimited, like torture. Torture, that one is not limited. It's an absolute right that cannot be taken away. But this one can be taken away if there's for public good. Yeah. So there was something, and the other thing you need to know also is we are not the final authority.
Yes.
You can appeal what we decide. There is the CAMAT. And you can go to High Court. Yeah, so there are processes of remedying the situation.
Yes. And the reason why I'm saying that was quite interesting for me is because, we are guided by the Code of Conduct for the Practice of Journalism in Kenya, which is under the second schedule of the Media Council Act. The Media Council has a complaints commission. And one interesting thing is that one of the lawyers that took the authority to court on that threat to revoke the licenses was actually sitting in that complaints commission. So meaning they didn't see anything wrong with our reporting. But then again, the authority said that it's going to revoke the licenses or even frequencies. Don't you think some people might view, stakeholders, important stakeholders like, media owners and practitioners might see the code as, stifling?
One thing I want to say also is about the code is the code is not introducing any new regulations. Actually, the code is based on the primary regulations. That is the Act and the regulations. So anything in the code actually is just expounding on what is in the law and what is in the Act. So anything that contradicts actually will be null and void. So there's that solace. Then the other assurance is it's a consultative process. Like the first draft we started in August was very different from what came out after November. And even there were also some changes in February during the stakeholder validation. Yeah, because as I want to emphasize that thing of the consumer setting the standard. Yeah, so if the consumer says do this, we will do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we are doing is what we got after going through the process. And that's why we review this code after every 3 years. Yeah, because one, there'll be new developments. Two, new perspectives of the same situation. Yes, so really there should be no worry about stifling because it's just expounding what is in the primary law.
And looking at the code, it has also a requirement for broadcasters to have their own complaints handling mechanisms. How do you think you're going to enforce this? And what recourse do you think viewers might have if they feel aggrieved by the work that broadcasters do?
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric. In fact, that's really, I think, the message I want to pass today to the to the viewers and the public, that really Article 46 of the Constitution really is there for them. They deserve quality services. And in terms of quality is what they expect. What do they expect? What are their values? What do they expect their children to watch? What do they expect to be shown in their stations? So that's what I want to focus on. And then what happens is we've got several instruments. We've got the license. We issue license to the broadcasters. And the license, one of the conditions is you need to have a complaints handling procedure within your station. And the other condition is you need to publicize it at least twice a day so that people know where to complain. We also need to have it online, apart from the announcing. And then the other thing is you also submit quarterly returns, or now you have dealt with the complaints. Okay. So we have that mechanism. And this mechanism also has got timelines, because if you give you 30 days to resolve the complaint, if 45 days expires and the viewer is not satisfied, they can actually escalate it to the authority. They also have the option of going to High Court, there's the CAMAT, but usually is a good procedure. And that's why we emphasize on the broadcasters to publicize, because for us we see this as a business tool, okay, because you get feedback. By the way, it's not only negative complaints. Sometimes you get positive. There's a station I visited in Mombasa. Actually, they have really used this tool as a business tool. In fact, they do the audience, audience survey using the complaints handling tool. So really, it's not something to impose. It's very positive for you as you serve. So my message today really is for broadcasters, publicize these complaints for your own good and for the good of the consumer. And then consumers, I tell them, you deserve quality services. Use the channel that's available. Give feedback to the broadcasters. If there are complaints, raise them. We are the ones who set the standards. I want to tell the viewers. Okay. Yeah.
Now, with the growing presence of online radio and TV stations, as internet penetration keeps growing in the country, what are your plans in the future? What do you intend to do to ensure that you also regulate that space?
Yeah, first of all, just to put perspective right, we also do an audience survey report. And we did one that was for the period ending 31st December. And we saw that actually over 75% listenership is still there in terms of TV, just the regular TV and the conventional TV.
Terrestrial.
And also in terms of the devices. Okay. We also saw, okay, the device at home is still valid in terms of course, when it comes to radio, we saw 30% now are using the phone, but still over 70 are still using the radio set. TV is still low, maybe because of the bundles. It's about 11%. Yeah, but notwithstanding that, we recognize that online is growing. And as the authority, what we are doing is, in the code actually we are requiring, because most of the stations also have online presence. So we require you in your online presence to have policies, like editorial policy. Yes. So that, because usually the story may not be bad, but the comments on the story. So we require you, like, I don't know, I have not checked your online presence, because I know you are there. And whenever you put a story, there'll be comments on the story. Yes. So there should be a policy now of that you can remove comments that are not adhering to your policy. So that's one thing we are doing. And then we're also requiring anyone who is offering services to Kenyans to actually comply with our code. Of course, there's challenge in enforcement because we've not started issuing licenses to online players. But it's something we are looking at. There's a current review going on for the primary law and the regulations, so that it's explicitly, there are explicit provisions for regulating online content. So it's an area there's work in progress. But the assurance really is when you look at the definition of broadcasting, even in the current law, it actually covers, it's more of the practicality of, that's the challenge. But in terms of the law, we can actually stretch the current law because broadcasting is about packaging, distributing images or sounds for reception of the public or subscribers. Yeah, so through, irrespective of the technology. So really, we can actually use the current law, but there are challenges, as you say, in terms of the practicality, which we are addressing.
Oh, fair enough. And you've said that you keep reviewing it and revising it. But as we wind up, I want to ask you this very important question. The code also addresses the treatment of very sensitive subjects like sex and religion, basically requiring conformity to, societal norms, which some, as the world rapidly evolves, might argue that is subjective. How do you intend to handle that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Some are subjective, but what we do is, for example, the complaints. The complaints actually validates, because sometimes we use our judgment and say this is, for example, something like religion. You will say this one is insightful or taking advantage.
Okay.
So what we do is once we make a decision, we subject it to, we will get complaints also, and then complaints will verify what we are doing. But apart from that, there are also some explicit guidelines. For example, we encourage, for example, for religion, why don't you talk about the positive aspects of religion? There's a lot of things you can say about religion. Many things you can say.
All right.
Why don't you say that? Then we're also saying for children, things like that are dramatic, we avoid them when children are likely to watch them.
All right.
Yeah, but I want to say complaints actually validate. That's why I'm encouraging viewers to complain so that they can set the standards for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. The code is huge. You cannot exhaust it and with all its contents within a 30-minute show. But thank you so much, Engineer Leo Borouet, for coming for this very important discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
Engineer Leo Borouet is the Director, Multimedia Services at the Communications Authority of Kenya. And of course, we're talking about Kenya's new programming code, the 4th edition of the programming code by the Communications Authority of Kenya. And that's it on Disruptive Friday tonight. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter has been Catherine.